You should be able to get in.
And everything we do is human-centered, which means that we're here to add value to humans' life. And if business is that way, then that's how we do that. So today, what we want to talk about is quite a few things in there. So there are 5 things that we want to talk about today: is optimizing cash flow and reprioritizing your funds, how to identify what upskilling you might need within your organization or within your business. Also looking at exploring some opportunities that previously we might not have been able to see. And also looking at customers, how do we retain customers at this time? And lastly, we're going to look into how to use social media effectively to engage with your clients at this time as well. So before we start on these ones, I just want to sort of tell you this. These are the things that do not work in silos. So what I mean is, and I've seen this a lot of times, and especially in larger organizations, they've got the finance side, the marketing side, and the operational and so on and so forth. Business, regardless of whether it's big or small, we find that everything needs to work together in harmony to deliver results that we want for the business. And also we're looking at, so think of it like a well-oiled machine. Everything needs to sort of work together in order for it to move forward. Also think about that the ideas or the things that I'm going to share with you today, it might be take whatever is applicable to you. For every business, it's different. So take what it is and modify it and apply it to your business and how you should it best work with your situation. So it's not sort of a one size fit all kind of advice here. All right. And please, if you have any questions, just fire through. If you have anything you want to talk about or anything, just ask away. We're here to all learn from each other. So the first thing what we want to do is I want to talk about how do we optimize cash flow and reprioritize funds. So I'm sure by now there's so much noise out there, so many people offering advice around this. What I want to talk about is, yes, these things, but also how do we go about, how do we recognize that what is applicable and what is not? And some of these ideas might seem like it's quite simple. However, as I said before, think of it as a whole thing rather than just one thing. So there's no point optimizing your cash flow if you're not connecting to your customers, if you're not using social media, or if you're not enabling your staff to work remotely. So it all sort of needs to combine together. Okay, so the first one we've got is renegotiate price, payment terms, and vendors with your vendors, suppliers, and you're building like your landlords and things like that. So I think this is a really good time to do that, because I've had clients that are looking at renegotiating terms with their landlords, because right now, and I've had to do the same because I've got both commercial and residential properties, and both of my tenants has come to me and say, hey, what can we do? And at this point, I've had to make some decisions. Okay, how do I help? And I've given them some reprieve around that. I've sort of, like what the banks have done, 6 months off, break from their mortgage, or you'll be surprised what landlords are willing to do to come to this party. So have a chat with your landlord, have a chat with your suppliers around this matter, Like how can we sort of renegotiate some terms and maybe get a longer term from your suppliers as well. The second one is looking at the government assistance. There's a whole range of it around here, and I'm sure most of you have already applied for subsidy. If not, go ahead and do that for your staff and for your employees. And yourself as well if you're self-employed. Also, for business owners, there is a thing called regional business partners. I don't know if you've heard about that, where if you're a business owner and if you have less than 50 employees and you're GST registered, regional business partners, they can help you fund some of your initiatives to get some expert advice in your business. So if you wanna get some business planning or marketing planning or business continuity planning right now, apply through that. There's some funding available for that as well. I don't know if anyone has heard about that. The other one is looking at your cash flow and financial forecast. And it's strange where doing your cash flow should be done anyway, but it's really important right now to do this, where you need to really look at where your funds are going and how you're going to spend your money now and later on, and how you're going to prioritize that. And with the cash flow funding and forecast, we do have a fully automated template. So if you do need that, please let me know. I'm happy to send it across to you guys. Just get in touch with Shivani or Marina, and they can just pass it on. I'll send it up to them and they'll forward it on to you. All you have to do on there is just plug in your figures and it does all the work for you behind the scenes. It gives you your break even and your financial forecast, your costings, and all of that will be done through that. The next one we want to look into is cut out all non-essential costs. But also I want to talk about, when you say cutting out non-essential costs, just be aware and just understand that you don't cut out things that might have a negative impact on your business in the future. So what I would advise you to do is, if you decide to do that, the best thing to do is pull back and just look at all your costs first and foremost. What are your costs associated with the business? Then from there, do an analysis that, okay, what are the things that I can cut off? What are the things that I have to put on hold? And then what are the things that I need to actually carry on doing that are essential for my business to survive the next round? I think this is the space where, in an event such as this, businesses panic and they start cutting things like staffing or reducing their, I don't know, stock levels or something like that. The point is, we have to think about what we're doing around here. Be sure, take some time, don't rush through things, and just look at what is the bigger picture. What should I be cutting, rather than just the first thing that comes into mind. Hey, I'm gonna not do this. I'm gonna cut on social media. I think right now cutting on social media wouldn't be the wisest thing, because everyone is on social media. So think about that. Marketing is one of the things that needs to be looked at really closely, whether it's something that we should be cutting right now. And lastly, on this one, I think we've got to look at your mortgage repayments. I'm sure everyone, and this is not to do with just business, everyone probably have homes and things like that. Talk to your trusted mortgage broker. They'll have more knowledge about this than we would. So find a mortgage broker that you can trust, that goes beyond just giving you the stock standard advice of fixing your mortgage or something like that. Get someone that has a little bit of a knowledge around how do we understand the area or whatever is happening in our lives, and how can we remortgage or use our finances in a way that frees up some capital or gives us a little bit of a break, or helps us sort of I don't know, put food on the table or something like that. So talk to a mortgage broker and explain your situation to them and say, this is what it is, this is where we're at, and these would be the ideal outcomes we want. Can you advise us the best way to work this around? So that's what I would suggest we need to do around looking at your mortgage repayment. So those are the top 5 tips that I have around optimizing your cash flow and reprioritizing your funds, and how do we go about looking at it's a mix between business and your personal life as well. So does anyone have any questions around that, or any feedback, or anything that they would like to share for the next couple of minutes?
Ron, it's Tania here.
Hi, Tania.
Just something that we found out under your first point around building leases. Some leases have an emergency clause in them, which says that if you are unable to get access to your building because of an emergency, that your rent may not be payable during that period, or a fair portion of your rent, or so forth. So it's worth having a look into lease agreements just to see if there's a clause like that in there, which might help people with some rent relief during an emergency period.
That's a really good one. Yeah.
I was just going to add to that, Tanya. For many organisations, they use the Auckland District Law Society rent lease agreement, and there is a section or clause 27 that talks about emergency relief. So that's a good one as well.
Okay. Can we have like so Marina, do you have like a link or something that people can look into, or find out more information if they want to?
Yes, I can send that around afterwards.
It's Stella here. Basically, I'm a lawyer, sorry, Ron.
Hi,
basically, the Law Society has been talking about, because there are lots of talks between landlord clients and tenants about the issues. The first thing is clause 27.5, which talks about in an emergency situation where tenant cannot access the premises or the shops, whatever, then the landlord and the tenant can negotiate a fair reduction of rent and outgoings. This only applies to the Auckland District Law Society Lease 6th edition onwards. So around 2012, 2013, that's when that edition of the lease comes on, after the Christchurch earthquake issue. So the first point is for anyone to check their own lease document to see whether they have that clause. With some of the shopping center, or what we call the public council leases, there's no such provision. So it's another scenario that the tenant and the landlord has to discuss. It's a really, really hot topic. Lawyers or the Law Society has been really careful not to give a definite answer, because each situation is different. I'm just sharing this information. While the tenant suffers because they could not open their business, they could not access their shops. On the other hand, there are lots of landlords who might be retired couples that relied on the rental income for their day-to-day expenses. So it's a really delicate point, but the method that we are given is to try to negotiate and come to a sensible agreement between the landlord and the tenant in a particular situation. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Anyone want to share anything? No, we'll move ahead. So the next one we want to discuss is how do you identify what upskilling is needed? Okay, so one of the things we want to talk about here is basically the online resources, because that's where I think the most help is right now. Is how do we use one, if you're a single business owner, like a self-employed, or if you have a small team, or if you're a large organization, or you use outsourced freelancers. There's a range of platforms that you can use. So and I've picked out the ones that I think I've used and that are working really well for me. So before we get into that, I think it's a good idea to look into this, but also think about how do we train our staff to work remotely around us, because it's no point getting into something and the staff are struggling, and I think that's where the productivity goes down. So training is one of those things that is really important around that. So we're going to look at, I want to sort of look at the first one. If you're a single business owner and you just want to manage your time and you want to look at productivity and you want to sort of, you have some people that you work around remotely, Trello is a very good one. What it does, it keeps things in order, and in terms of your project, your time management, how you can track your any project or any task you're doing. But it's a very simple platform. Trello is a very simple platform that you can use to manage your own time, and that is one of the things I think working from home. One of the things is distraction. It happens to me, like I'll be doing something and I would get on YouTube and suddenly I'm watching cats or something like that. Just goes out quite easily. So distraction is one of the things that we have to manage while working from home. And I found things like Trello, it helps quite a bit. Helps you manage it. You can time your certain tasks so you know how you're tracking along to that. So the Trello is for if you're a small business owner or if you're self-employed with 1 or 2 employees. That's quite easy. The second one is it goes on if you have like a medium-sized business. Slack is really good. What it does is if you have a team, how Slack works is you can create a project and you can invite people in, and all of the communication related to that project stays in so to speak in one folder. So it's very easy to later on, if you want to go back, if you want to track something, if you want to see what the document was in there, did we follow standard procedures or something like that, all of the information will be held in that one folder, rather than trying to, usually what happens is we go through all of the emails trying to find one information. Slack, it enables us to put everything together in one folder or one task or one project. And you can invite people to add on things, take it out, and have conversations around that. Slack is one of the things that I would highly recommend for people that are between 5 to 10 employees, a smaller team, and that wants to. So even if you have all your stuff scattered around, they can all come together virtually and work on single projects or multiple projects, and they can input all of the information together in one place. So it's much easier to manage. The other one is Monday.com. Monday.com is really good. It's really good for large organizations. Not to say that if you're small you can't use it, but it's for larger teams. You can have multiple projects, multiple freelancers working all together. You can add in videos. You can have chats, video chats like this. You can import files into your specific folders, and also, sorry, my folder's right up. Also looking at, you can pin stuff, you can download, you can add in a lot more things into it. So it's another way of managing your staff and making sure that everything is tracking along, and to ensure that productivity is kept up, where when you can't see people physically, this is a very good way of tracking how each person is working. So you can assign little tasks for each person, and also, like, if there's 6 people in one task, they can communicate really easily and say, hey, I need help with this, rather than an email going out to everyone in the organization. So it's very focused and defined way of working if you want to work onto certain tasks and move really quickly as well. And you can have multiple tasks on that as well. So that I found that to be really helpful as well, especially when I work with people with multiple time zones. So if they're in Singapore, Indonesia, and wherever, so I can input whatever I want now, knowing that someone in Singapore will look into it in 6 hours time, and they'll feedback. So rather than sort of waiting for that, you can pull all the resources together and know that they're specifically, and you can tag people in, so the information goes to them directly. The other thing I want to talk about is Zoom. We all know Zoom. I don't know how many people have used Zoom regularly. Zoom is excellent to do, like how I'm using a PowerPoint and I'm sharing it with you guys. I can record our conversations. I can, the other things, I can create breakout rooms as well. So if you're having virtual meetings, and if you have 20 people, you can throw in a task, and then you can create breakout rooms of 3 people each, and they can go out and brainstorm, and then you can regroup later, and then they can come back and share their thoughts. So that's one thing good about Zoom as well, that I found to be working really well. And also with Zoom, you can do this, which works better if you have a touch screen. I'm using a mouse, so it makes it look like I'm a 2-year-old child trying to draw something. But it does all of that. You can write text, things like that. You can make notes and things like that, so people can all contribute, and anyone can do that. So your team members can start doing this as well. So I found it to be really good. Okay. Sorry, I'm just trying to get rid of this. The other things I think we should look into right now, it's going to go in WhatsApp. I don't know if many people use that. WhatsApp chat is really good. You can send in videos, files, pictures, but and if you're on the go, you can really easily communicate with your team members. You can create groups as well, and that's really helpful if your team is mobile and moving around, and if you're in an industry that that you don't have access to a laptop or something like that, but you want to take a picture and send it to your teammate that is in an office, you can use WhatsApp. Is really good for that. Or if you want to video a small thing, like if you're in construction industry, or if you're working somewhere where you wanna move information really quickly, WhatsApp works really well with that. I found that mostly in Singapore, in Indonesia, and Malaysia, now they don't even give out phone numbers. It's all WhatsApp, because people can video call straight away. So instead of giving someone a call, you just do a video call while you're on the move. And I found that to be helpful as well. And with this, I think we should be getting into a habit of doing video calls. I found that to be quite helpful. When we can't meet people physically, when you want to talk to someone, just do a video call. It's a level of connection that you can't read facial expressions just through voice, but you can, when you see a person, there's that connection. I found that to be really helpful as well. And the other one is WeChat. WeChat is good if you're dealing with Chinese customers. In China, it's huge. WeChat, everyone uses that. So if you have clients that are based in China, I would recommend looking into WeChat. I think they have like an English version of it, because mostly people think that WeChat is just for, because everything is in Chinese language, but I do believe they have an English version where you can communicate with your counterparts on the other end. So I think those three, all of those notes that are given, like we've got Trello, Slack, Monday.com, Zoom, WhatsApp, WeChat. Think about all of these and think about what fits with your organization right now. What will be the best one that will fit whatever you guys are doing? And not only thinking of it from a operational point of view, think about your human resources point of view as well, because we want your staff to be able to use this as well. What is the most accessible and what is the most user-friendly to your team? So if you have a bigger team, but however, majority of them are comfortable with using Trello, I would say adopt Trello and use Trello, because you'll have more productivity using Trello rather than trying to use Monday.com, because it offers more things. But if the staff of your team are not able to adapt and use it, then it becomes useless. So I think with all of these, have your team together with it and understand what works best for them, and then what works best as the whole organization, the whole business. What is the best one we can use for this? Also think about the customers around this, because you've got what's good for the company, what's good for the team to use, and how will the customers, will they be able to engage with these systems? Like something like WhatsApp, where you can talk to your customers through WhatsApp as well, or WeChat. You know, you can pick certain customers and say, one of our forms of communication is WeChat or WhatsApp, and they can send you updates. And if you're in retail business and people say, hey, do you have this? They can take a picture and then send it to you straight away, and you can say, yes, we do, we'll ship it out. So that way it cuts out all of those unnecessary conversations and touch points. Yeah, so that's around how do we identify the upskilling that we need. Please, if you have any questions, I would love to.
Kia ora, Ron. I've just been looking into these apps as well, especially Monday.com. I was wondering, what are your thoughts? You said for a small business, you think Trello is quite good. In Trello, can you share kind of your productivity and tasks with another member in your team, or is it more a personal app?
No, you can, Trello, you can share with other people as well. So you can assign team members that they can sign in, and you can give them access to certain tasks. So you can assign tasks to certain members within your team, and they can, you know, they are responsible for those tasks. And once they have completed it, they can tick it off and it just moves across.
All right, brilliant.
Yeah.
And do you think it still gives the high level visibility that Monday does, in terms of, you know, manager could look and see that these are the people working on these tasks, and you can see it quite high level?
So you can assign the visibility. So if you have a team member, and you can assign the level of access they have, so you can give them access to that certain task, and then you can have a manager that have a little bit more access to the whole team. Then as a senior leadership team or business owner, you can view the whole dashboard and see how everything's going on. So you can have a bird's eye view, but you can zoom right in and give access to people all the way down to one task.
Great, thank you.
Anyone else has anything they would like to share or ask? No? Okay. We'll move on. Just mindful of the time. Great. So the next thing we're going to look at is explore the opportunities within your business. And this is where I want to sort of ask you guys is, I think in order to explore opportunities that are within the business, the first thing what we need to do is we need to slow down. And it might seem counterintuitive, but in order to see opportunities, we really need to slow down and look at exactly what's happening within the organization. So imagine if you know, there's so many things happening around us, and a normal understanding is we've got to act fast, we've got to make quick decisions and all of that. That is all fine. But if you want to see what opportunities are there, I would suggest take out some time, and it might be half a day or a few hours or whatever it is, and just go through your business and ask the question right now: what has changed and what has remained the same? And truly ask this question for your organization. And it's important when you ask these questions, don't jump into solution mode. Don't think about, okay, how can I solve this problem? But truly, in an unbiased manner, ask yourself, what has changed and what has remained? So what I do, if you can see in the background, I love post-it notes. Everything I do, just write down on post-it notes and just start sticking it, or write it down, or whatever works for you. Just answer those questions in the most truthful manner you can. Then you look back, okay, I'll give you a quick example. One of my clients is a commercial cleaner. And when this whole thing happened, he called me up. He said, I've lost 80% of my clients, just like that. And it's natural, you know, people start freaking out, like, what am I going to do? But we looked at, again, I asked the same question: what has changed and what has remained the same? And we found that even though a lot of businesses close, the essential businesses are open, and with the heightened of cleanliness, the businesses that used to clean maybe once a week, they have upped the cleaning regimen to maybe twice a week or 3 times or whatever it is. So there lays the opportunity. So you move that way. So ask those questions. It's very important for your business. And then from there, always think about, what does your customer need right now? So it's about adding value. Okay, what does the customer need right now, and how can we add value to that? So even though your business is there, like, I find this across, it's about asking yourself those right questions. All of this is what I'm going to give you right now. It's not so much solutions, but I want you to ask these questions for yourself, for your business. And then from there, the answers will start coming up. Solutions will start coming up when you start asking these critical questions. And the other thing is, okay, once you figure out what does your customers need right now, then you go back and ask yourself, okay, how can I solve this particular problem? It might be one problem, or it might be one need or two needs. Okay, how can I solve this problem, or how can I supply these needs with the resources that I have within my business right now? And you might have to pivot at this time. And this is where it goes in, and I struggle. This is my biggest struggle, is people's mindset are still stuck in how they used to do business. But right now is the time, is a perfect opportunity to pivot your business, to ask those really uncomfortable questions and really explore, what can we do? How can we do this? And really look at things outside the box. And I know it might sound cliched or something that is out there, but think about, when they say creativity, thinking outside the box. Now is the time to, like, okay, how can I serve the people? How can I serve my customers? Then look at, what is the resources I have to serve my customers? Just answer these questions, and the more time you spend around this, and keep it defined. Because one of the dangers of thinking creatively is that you can go off on a tangent and you can spend a day and you come out with nothing. Keep allocated time, assign 90 minutes or assign 120 minutes, whatever time it is, assign to solve one problem or to answer one question, and keep it really tight. Okay, 90 minutes, I'm gonna talk about, or we're gonna write down as much as we can about what has changed, what has remained the same. Right, done. Next one. What does the customers need right now? List those down. Then, these are the resources I have. How can I solve the customer's problem that we've just identified with the resources I've had? Then the next question will be, how does the business need to pivot? What do I need to do within my business? What training do I have to provide? What additional resources I need to bring in to deliver this product or service? So those are the fundamentals around how do we identify opportunities within the business. It's just, rather than going forward and quickly trying to grab something, this is the time to draw back and reassess what is that we have in the business, what are the resources, who are our key clients, who are our key customers, how can we add value? And the way to do this is through design thinking, to human-centered design. So now that's what I do. Okay, I might sound a little bit biased around it, but it works. So that's it. Any questions around it, or anything, any clarification? No? Marina, I can see you smiling.
I was just going to say that it's a good formula that you can apply. It's quite practical. I come from a public policy background, so it's quite formulaic. So no, that was good.
Thank you. So we'll move on to the next one. Next one is around how do you retain your customers? I think this one is quite interesting as well. Like right now, it's very difficult in terms of saying that how do I retain my client? I think typically we think about this kind of questions, this kind of thought-based leads on to sales. But I think now we have to sort of draw back and think about, just put sales aside for a moment, because if you're a retail business owner right now, unless you have a online presence, selling would be rather difficult. But it's all about retention. Like, one of the things I would say is sort through your database. This is the perfect timing if you've got nothing to do. Look at your customers, understand your customers better, go through your database. And once you've gone through the database, ask yourself the question, what is important to them right now? And right now, it might not be what's important to them right now. Quite possibly, it's probably not the product you sell, but it could be some further information, like for restaurants. If you're a restaurant and your business operates and people physically coming and eating at your brick and mortar restaurant, but that's not the need right now, and they can't do that anyway. The need is for them is they're going to cook at home, right? So probably recipes. You can stay in touch with some cooking videos, easy way to cook meals. So that's how people remember you, rather than trying to sell them vouchers for when I will open up. That wouldn't work. So really look at understanding what is important to that database of people that you have, and how do we retain them. Not sell to them, retain them. That's the critical thing. I think we have to think about retention, not selling. And people, oftentimes we confuse the two, where we're trying to create a plan that will enable us to sell to them, but right now it's not the time. And quite simply, stay in regular contact with them, with your customers, and whichever means that you have been using around that, whether it be email, Instagram, or Facebook, LinkedIn, depending on the type of customers you have, stay in touch with them. So point 3 ties into point 2, which is understand what is important to them right now, and when you stay in contact with them, speak about those things. And so now is the time to also review your customer's journey step by step. So what I mean by that, customer journey, it does not start from the moment they engage with you physically or online. It starts a few steps behind it. So a customer's journey, for example, and if we use a restaurant as an example again, a customer's journey will start from the thought of, I want to go out and have a meal. That's where the journey starts, right? The thought. And from there, they might go online and research and Google whatever they're thinking. And then they'll find your restaurant and they'll give you a call, and so on and so forth. So map that out. Once you map it out, then you'll understand that, okay, again, it goes back to my previous thing. In this map, what has changed and what has remained the same? Then you think about, okay, on this journey that I have mapped out for my customers, where can me as a business owner or an organization add value? What is that touch point right now that I can add value? to these people. So that's what I would advise you to do, is do a step-by-step mapping of your customer. Any questions around that? No? Oh. Okay, great. Thank you. And if you do have any question at any time, please get in touch with Marina or I've got my LinkedIn. If you have any questions, please fire through. I know sometimes it might be later on, oh, I've got this thing that I want to talk about or whatever. At the end, I'll give you access. I'll give you my website where you can go in and book in a free 30-minute session. If you have anything to talk about, it's completely free. I'm happy to talk about that. There's no obligations. It's just I'm going to help if I can. Okay, so the next one we're going to look at is how do we use social media effectively to engage with my clients. So the first thing, before you start using social media, I think it's a good practice to evaluate what social media suits your business best. Would it be LinkedIn? Would it be Facebook, Instagram, or Facebook? I've written it twice. Because each one of these have a different strategy, a separate strategy and messaging. And depending on your clientele that you have, you choose the best platform. So looking at, and without sort of understanding, depending on the type of business you have, the type of product or service you offer, the customers you have, then picking the best social media platform will become more easy. So once you understand which one is it, pick one or two, whatever it could be. Be clear in your messaging. And it sounds really simple, but right now, I think people value authentic messaging. People don't want to, they don't want to read things that looks like they've been put together by a professional PR person. If you look at Jacinda, and I don't use Facebook much, but one day I went in there and she was just doing a live feed, and she was just sitting on her couch at home wearing a jumper and just talking. And I don't know, I felt that I connected to her more in that moment rather than all of these other highly curated messages that come out from other professionals that are there, which seems like when you ask a question, it's they never answer the question. But anyway, so be clear. It doesn't have to be long. It just needs to have a certain level of clarity around it, where being honest, like, say, hey, this is what we're doing as a business. This is our challenges, and this is what we hope to do, and this is where we want to do. Okay, connect with us, if in any way you can. Just give them value-driven messaging rather than 20 pages or 6 paragraphs of whatever that I see. Have a strategy around it where decide how you're going to do, like have a level of consistency, like whether it be monthly strategy or weekly. I think right now it's weekly because things change so quickly. We need to be agile enough to change with it, but have weekly strategies around how you're going to communicate where you're at, because as organizations, we are going through this and we're changing week by week. and that messaging needs to be clear to your customers around it as well. Tanya, would you like to add something on that?
Sorry, no, I'm just giving my apologies. I have to pop out and go to another meeting, but I found it really useful. Thank you.
Thank you very much for taking time out, Tanya.
Thank you.
Okay. Okay. So the last one is also updating your social media regularly to address customer concerns. So, you know, sometimes it could be related to your business as well, where customers might be a little bit concerned about, you know, whatever it might be, like, are you going to come back into business, or you know, what do it look like? Are you adopting online strategy? Are you going to be connecting? You know, it could be whatever it could be. Just make sure that you use social media quite regularly and consistently around that. So not the length of it, clear message and a regular update with your clientele or your customers. So that's around how do we use social media effectively to engage with your customers. Any questions around that? No? Okay, great. I know there's 5, but what I did is I wrote down another one and I put down lastly. It's a bonus. And I have 2 minutes and I'm gonna run through that very quickly. It's about looking after yourself. I think that is most important right now. It's looking after your mental health, your physical health, and going for walks and having, you know, with this isolation, just using Zoom or WhatsApp or whatever, just connecting with family, friends, you know, people that encourage you, that guide you through around it is very important. I'll also, you know, have fun, be open-minded. It's so easy to get down with everything that's going around us. But and a good friend of mine, when we were talking around this, it's things are going to happen. Whatever's going to happen, it's going to happen. How can we be adaptive? How can we adapt to it? And just look at the positives of how we're going to move forward with it. So just don't get too stuck on negatives, and social media right now and in news and all that, I know it can be quite intense. Just protect yourself, your mental health and your physical health. That's very important. I would say that. On that note, kia ora. Thank you very much. Unless anyone has any messages or anything to talk about.
Thank you very much, Ron.
Yeah. Thank you, Stella.
Thank you, Ron.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I hope it was of value. If you have any questions, you can go onto my website, which is momentummindlab.com, and you can click on Let's Chat if you want to talk about something for 30 minutes. It's absolutely free. And thank you for NZAL. You guys are amazing. You guys are doing an awesome job. Thank you, Shivani and Marina.
Thank you, Ron. That was really helpful. I know what I'll be doing this weekend.
Yeah, and that's my son at the background.
Marina and Shivani.
Great.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Take care.
Thank you. All right. Have a good night. See you. Goodbye.
Bye.
Thanks a lot.
Bye,
Thank
Ron.
you. Thank you, Ron.
Thanks, Marina.
Thank you.
Sorry, I'm just reading through the messages here. That's great.
Yes, yeah.
kind of
Thanks, Fuji.
Thanks, Marina. Koshi and I found it really helpful.
Oh, great. Thanks, Koshi. Nice to meet you again. All right.
Have a good rest of your day.
Yes,
All
you
right.
too. Bye-bye.
Thanks,
Goodbye.
Ron. Thank you, Ron.
Thank you, Fujiko.
Bye.
Bye.
All right. So I think, and that's just Fuji signing off her other laptop now. But I received a lot of private messages from people who had attended and had to nip out, and all very lovely feedback. Jerry had said this refresher session was needed to motivate people to stay put and hang on in there. Great session. So that was lovely.
Thank you. Thank you. I can send this through if you want it.
Okay.
Yeah.
And are you comfortable with me sending your contact details out to everybody as well?
Yes, please. Are you gonna send out like a feedback survey on